Chapter 6. Boone. I don't see Ivy until tomorrow. Funny how I'm already staring at the clock impatiently, waiting for it to speed up. Of course, part of that reason might be because I'm in hell. Hell is our monthly meeting with the money guys. Me, Clay, Gage, Knox, and Seth are all sitting at a table in the small office we've established for Price Brothers Oil. It's a small place in an ultra-expensive suite in an office building on the Riverwalk. I don't really care for the place, but at least it looks fancy. I'm more of a rig guy, and I usually just sit up on a trailer on site. At least I used to. Now I come in here when I have to and let our money guys handle shit. Every now and then, we have to sit down and go over business with them. It's boring, but I suppose it needs to be done. I've been mostly quiet as the new rig was discussed. I'll leave that for Gage to handle. I'm the one in charge, but my brothers need to earn their scratch, too. Gage will oversee this well, and Knox the next one. Clay's all wrapped up with his smart camo business that he started up. Something with government contracts. And Seth? Well, Seth's a fucking lazy little shit. So he's gonna be worming on this new rig. He just doesn't know it yet.
We received a call from Bates Petroleum,
one of my suits is saying.
They're extremely upset about our refusal to dig a well on their land per the contracts.
Clay sniggers and looks over at me. I rub my beard absently. He's still pissy over that shit?
Quite,
one of the money guys says.
Is there a hold-up somewhere? Or a specific reason that we can go back to them and cite as to why we're delaying production?
Well, his land's a dry piece of shit, for starters, I drawl. My brothers chuckle, but the suits look prissy and displeased. And second of all, he insulted me.
We have a contract with them,
one of the suits begins. Cancel it.
The cancellation clause can be executed, but it'll end up costing PBO quite a bit.
Don't care, I drawl. We're gonna focus on the new well on my land. Gage is gonna handle it. I nod at my brother, indicating that I'm done with this shit. The suits sigh and argue amongst themselves about how best to break the news to Bates Petroleum that PBO, my company, ain't gonna wipe their asses for 'em. I don't care how they spin it. I don't care if they go and tell Bates he can suck my big dick. All I know is that I'll fucking cut my own hand off before I dig a well for that jackass. I think of the golf course and the sneers everyone sent in my direction. My eyes narrow. I don't forget shit like that. Before we go on, I interrupt, sitting forward, I need to tell you guys I'm buying a golf course. Everyone at the table goes silent.
You are?
Knox looks at me like I've grown another head.
You into golfing now or something?
Or something, I agree. I want a very specific golf course. The Silver Birch Country Club. The money guys exchange looks.
Well, I don't know that it's for sale,
one says, scribbling notes. Then you can call them and make them an offer they can't refuse, I tell them. That's how this works. You, I point at them, take my money and turn it into things I want. That's what I pay you for. Two of the money guys protest, flipping through papers and mumbling about how they're going to need time to go over company information for the golf course, see how we can make it profitable, blah, blah, blah. The one at the end of the table, with the laptop, just writes a few more notes.
I'll get on it, sir.
That one? He's getting a raise. You do that. I look over at Gage. Sorry to interrupt. You want to talk about the new well? My brother lights up with enthusiasm. Gage leans back in his chair and talks about the new well for a long time. How many barrels a day we're averaging, and how long before production slows, how much it's costing a day to run the thing. The numbers are good. The barrels are good. I knew it was a good spot. The suits are pleased, too. They scribble down notes, and one types into his laptop like we're shitting nuggets of wisdom at them. Like this is a surprise. The prices always know all. It's in our blood. I'm only half paying attention, though. I'm thinking about Ivy and what she'll look like when I see her again. Short skirt, or one of those sexy numbers that gets tight at the knees and makes her legs look like a wet dream. More fuck-me shoes? Will her glossy hair be up or down? As Gage goes on and on about whether or not production can be increased with a second crew on an adjacent well, Clay leans over to me. You snare the classy blonde? Not quite yet, but I'm going to. I glance over at him. Meeting her tomorrow to look at a starter house.
Starter house?
Yeah, small-time shit. $3 million or something. Only 8 bedrooms. He grunts.
Doesn't sound that impressive.
I thought you wanted 40 rooms. I know. She wants us to start small so we can see what we like. Clay looks amused at the thought.
She doesn't know you all that well, does she?
She doesn't. But she will.
Ivy. I'm as nervous as could be on Wednesday. I'm supposed to meet Boone at the office and drive him out to the potential house. It's a bit outside of Canyon Lake, which means we're looking at close to an hour drive. It's going to be just me and Boone, alone in the car together. And that makes me nervous. Not because I think he'll do anything untoward, but because he's going to be alone with me and we're going to talk. And whenever we talk, he flirts. And I'm getting really bad at resisting his flirting. I hope this house is nice. I hope it's exactly what he wants, so I can lock him down into escrow, get an advance prior to closing, and then I can keep him at arm's length. That is the ideal situation. It'll solve my money problems, my Boone problems, all my problems. I don't need a romantic entanglement right now. Not when I should be focusing every moment on scrounging more money for my sister's college education. Instead, I'm spending far too much time fussing with my appearance. I wear my hair in a smooth bun and make sure it's pinned tight. I leave a lock of hair free to dangle at my brow, just because it looks a little disheveled and seductive, and then I tuck it back in because I don't want to be seductive. Or do I? I'm a mess. I shouldn't want to be sexy for a client. That should be the last thing on my mind. But then again, Boone's not quite like any other client. He's also not like any other man I've ever met. There's something incredibly self-assured about him, and yet at the same time, there's a core of vulnerability. He wants respect for his hard work, but he doesn't want to change who he is. That's why he wants the house. And me. And he wants me because in his eyes I'm classy. A lady. Boy, he's got me pegged all wrong. I consider that as I get dressed for our meeting in a dark navy jacketed suit. The skirt on this one is a little short and tight, and that, of course, is not why I'm picking it. It's for the sexy red stilettos that go perfect with it. They say the clothes make the man, or woman, and whenever I meet a client, I dress to the nines. It doesn't matter if they're buying a trailer or a mansion. I have to look the part. I put on a silk slip to go under the jacket, a string of my favorite fake pearls, and then smooth my bun. It's hot as Hades in Texas today, so I skip the pantyhose. That's my only concession to not looking as classy as I should. Truth is, I'm not classy. I'm a girl that never went to college. I'm a girl that flipped burgers and scooped ice cream until she got her realtor's license. I grew up in a trailer. Heck, I still live there. My dad's in prison. My mom is God knows where. If he thinks I'm cultured, it's because of my clothes, or the fact that I do my best to look like I belong at hoity-toity Three Jacks Real Estate. Truth is, I'm a square peg in a round hole, desperately trying to find a way to fit in, just like him. Maybe I just hide it better. Funny how he refuses to change his appearance, and that's the only thing I can control when it comes to my situation. I smooth my hands down my skirt, put in a pair of fake pearl earrings, and then grab my purse. I head straight for the office and grab my folder full of comps and the keys to one of the Lincoln Town cars that the company insists we use for clients. I get in the car and pop open an air freshener, eucalyptus, and a CD of music, violins. I run a lint brush over the seats and floorboards to pick up any stray crumbs, wipe down the dash to ensure there's no dust, and grab 2 bottles of ice-cold water. I'm ready. It's time to go. I glance at my phone's clock. 2 minutes until meeting time. It's swelteringly hot, and I don't want my makeup to be ruined by sweat, so I start the car to cool off the interior and think about Boone. Off-limits, totally a bad idea Boone, who my sister would be truly pissed to find out that I'm going to go ahead and take the commission from anyhow. She thinks I should play it completely safe and above board as a realtor. But I also don't think she realizes just how desperate our financial situation is. That's my own fault, too. I've shielded her from everything upsetting because I want her to have the easy, carefree college experience that I never did. So I'm going to take Boone's money. And his business. And his flirting. I'm not going to let it go anywhere, but I'll play along. That won't be too hard, seeing as how I'm weirdly attracted to the guy. Actually, maybe it's not so weird. He's blue-collar, and I am too, though I'm trying desperately to change to white-collar. He says and does what he wants, and those are traits I admire, given that I rarely get to do either. Is he a little rough around the edges? Yeah. Okay, he's a lot rough around the edges. He's also unshaven, and his hair is long and shaggy. He wears T-shirts that, if clean, have holes at the collar and look like they've seen better days. He likes trucker caps instead of business suits. But he's got an amazing laugh and a devilishly handsome smile, and big, strong, tanned hands, and someone raps on my car window, right at eye level. I jump, then look over to see Boone in a white paint-splattered T-shirt, jeans, and his favorite trucker cap. He grins at me through the wide bristle of his beard. I roll down the power window a few inches. You scared me. I didn't hear you over the air conditioner. He squints up at the cloudless sky. Yeah, it's a hot one. You ready to go? I'll drive, I tell him, indicating my passenger seat. You're my guest today. Hop in. Boone gets into the car with me, and a moment later he waves a bottle of champagne under my nose. Brought us refreshments. I look over at him, surprised. I can't drink while driving. That's all you, I'm afraid. He shrugs and tosses the corked bottle into the back seat of the car. I ain't much for the fizzy shit. Bought it to impress you. Or get me drunk. I can't help but tease as I pull out of the parking lot and into the busy downtown streets. Boone snorts. Why? I like my women responsive and willing. And do you generally have a lot of women? Shit. Why did I have to go and ask that? Am I stupid? I must be stupid. I don't care. I really don't. Really? Of course, my brain's not buying that any more than my racing heart is.
No,
He says slowly.
it's mostly business for me. I haven't dated anyone in years.
Not even with all your billions? I tease.
Especially not after that. Too much work to do and not enough hours in the day to do it.
Huh.
What, huh? What's that mean?
I shake my head and ease the car onto the entrance ramp of the highway. Just surprised that you aren't much of a ladies' man, given how hard you've been hitting on me.
That's because I finally found what I really want, and I don't plan on letting it get away from me.
There's a teasing note in his voice to take the seriousness out of the statement, but it still gives me shivers. Weird that I'm glad to hear that he's not a player, even though he comes across as a blowhard playboy. Knowing that it's just for me, that makes it all the more flattering, and that much harder to resist. I'm still not sure why you want me when you can have anyone.
You know why.
Because I'm classy?
That, and those legs that you're showing off under your skirt, and the way you blush when I flirt with you, and the way you're real polite to everyone, even when they treat you like shit. I like everything about you, Ivy.
It takes me a moment to unpack what he's telling me. When did someone treat me like shit in front of him? And how did he notice that I wore my shortest skirt just to show off my legs? I'm sitting down. Or is he guessing that I'd wear something a little business but flirty to meet with him? I shift in my seat a little, uncomfortable at being confronted, but also a little breathless. This is just business between us.
All right. We'll go with that idea for now.
He sounds amused again. Weirdly enough, that's another thing I like about Boone. It's like no matter how hard I push, he knows it's mostly shyness and not disinterest. He's not scared off in the slightest by my standoffishness. I tell myself I should be more firm, to put him firmly in the role of client. But I can't seem to do it. Can't seem to want to do it either. The ride down the highway is pleasant, and we leave the bustle of San Antonio and head north into much flatter, open territory. There's not a lot of houses out this way, and I personally view that as a plus. It's a little more remote here, a little more private. We talk about easy, small things, occasionally interrupted by the electronic voice of the map program telling me which exit to take. When we get to the front entrance of the mansion, I put the car in park and roll down the window to type the code in at the gate. I'm nervous because up close, the gate looks a little rusty instead of clean, and some of the bushes lining the long fence that wraps around the property are overgrown. The gate creaks open a moment later, and then I drive us up the winding driveway to park in front of the house. "We're here," I announce in my sunniest voice, and turn off the car. "What do you think so far?" Boone looks over at me, one dark eyebrow going up.
You want me to be polite, or you want the truth?
The truth, of course. We're looking at this house for you. He gazes back up at the house, and I try to see it how he might. There's a few patchy spots on the shingled roof. The landscaping is ragged and overgrown, and there's a fountain in the courtyard that looks a little greenish.
I think if I'm trying to make someone buy my house for a few million, I'd make it look better.
I nod, because I'm in total agreement. Sometimes the photos are slightly altered to make the house look better. That might be the case here. Do you still want to go in and look around?
And spend time with you? Of course.
His gaze is intense as he watches me.
I've got you for the whole afternoon, don't I?
A little shiver ripples through me. You do?
Well, then I plan on taking advantage of that.
We go up the steps to the house, and the double doors have a lockbox just below the doorknobs. I type in the code and pull the key out, then unlock the door. Cool air rushes over my skin as the door opens, and I turn to look at Boone. Clients first.
Age before beauty, you mean?
I chuckle. Whatever gets you in the door, you stubborn man. He grins at me, and it's clear he's enjoying our banter. I am, too. Boone saunters in, admiring the foyer. The place is completely empty of furniture. They haven't even staged the place, which surprises me. The rooms echo, and there's a fine layer of dust on the floors, which tells me the owners haven't been living here for at least a month. The tile below my feet is expensive, if a little dated. There's a staircase with an out-of-style banister and ugly beige carpet on the steps. This is a nice, spacious room, I tell him, deciding to focus on the positive. Very open feeling. He glances around, and then up.
I like the antlers.
Antlers? I look up, and sure enough, there is a gaudy, antlered chandelier over the main entry hall light. I can't help the horrified giggle that escapes me. You like that?
Yeah, it's real nice. I might do something like that when I get my place. Antlers in every room. Hang some deer heads on the walls, and I got myself a real nice place.
The idea's so horrific to me, and so at odd with his need for class, that an awful little giggle escapes my throat. I try to smother my laugh, but it ends up as a snort, which just makes everything worse. His eyes widen, and he looks over at me.
What?
Nothing, I mumble, then press my fingers to my lips, trying to stifle more laughter. That slow, dazzling, sexy smile curves his mouth, and I start to feel weak in the knees.
Let me guess. Antler chandelier isn't classy?
I give my head a little shake, and another snorted giggle erupts.
What about deer heads?
My shoulders start to shake with the force of holding back my laughter.
Moose? I got myself an elk, too. I got about 30 trophies, actually. Could hang 'em all in one room, and they could all look at each other.
He gestures to the entryway.
Maybe throw down some animal skin rugs.
Now he's just messing with me. I can't stop laughing, though. It snorts out of me in the most awful pig-like way, and I can't seem to hold it in. That sounds terrible, I gasp between giggles.
You don't want a bunch of dead animals giving you the eye when you walk in? Come on.
The look on his face is pleased, as if he likes making me laugh.
Beats boring old wallpaper.
I just keep laughing and have to hold on to his arm for support. The dusty floor is slick, and my shoes are in danger of skidding, and I can't concentrate with all the laughter pouring out of me. Boone likes my nearness, though. He pulls my hand and tucks it into the crook of his arm, and then places his other hand over it, like we're a couple.
Shall I show you the rest of the palace, m'lady?
He teases. I'm the realtor here. I should be showing it to you. He raises a dark brow at me and leans in.
Ivy, darling, I think we both know just by looking at this that I'm not giving them $1, much less 2.5 million of them.
And I start giggling again because it's so horrible. He's so right. This place is awful. Dated, ugly, and overpriced.
Let's go into the main living area, shall we?
He says grandly, and we move forward. There's ugly beige carpeting in every room, but that's truly cosmetic. The ceilings are high, and there's a hairline crack or two that was photoshopped out in the pictures, but I feel the need to point out. The kitchen has nice appliances, but they're all at least 10 years old. The pretty tile is cracked in several places. The wine cellar has broken racks and looks cheap in person. The immense swimming pool in the backyard needs to be regrouted, replastered, and the tile back there is cracked as well. I feel obligated to disclose this information to Boone as we go along because they're minor fixes. If he likes the house, we can fix it up and make it like new again. And then I catch myself because I'm acting like it's going to be our house together, which is crazy. We check out the upstairs, and it's spacious, but equally dated. The view is nice, and I make sure to point that out. Boone's been rather quiet as we look around, and that worries me. Is he having second thoughts about me? And the house? I mean, it's clear the house isn't great, but it's also just the first one I've shown him. There are plenty of houses out there. I worry about all of this as he turns to me as we leave the master bathroom. It's one of the nicest rooms in the house, with travertine tile and a rain-effect shower. It's also a good note to end on. So, what do you think? I know it's big and spacious, but it also needs updating. Your thoughts? You like it? Boone asks. Me? He gives me another toe-curling smile.
Yeah, you.
As a realtor?
I was thinking more like as my woman. But sure, let's say that. Realtor.
I can feel a blush heating my cheeks, which seems to happen a lot when I'm around Boone. He makes me flustered. I think it needs updating, but the bones are good. You could sink some money into this place, and it could be really lovely. He's watching me intensely, and his hand is still covering mine, and for some reason that makes me exceptionally nervous. I slide out of his grip and pretend to be considering the house again, walking into the next room. As your realtor, I'd say we could knock the price down a decent chunk in lieu of updates that need to be made, but none of that matters if you don't like the place or if it doesn't fit your vision.
I have one vision,
he drawls.
You know what that is.
And I suspect it points back to me. I say nothing, continuing down the stairs. I'm trying to judge this house. I really am, but I'm distracted by his presence. I can feel that he's waiting for me to say something, anything, to give this house my vote or to veto it, like it's going to be my house and not his. I realize again just how serious he is about wanting me. He wants me to like this place as much as he does because he wants me here with him. Goosebumps and adrenaline rush through me, and I feel breathless. I'm silent as I continue out to the car, my keys in hand. What can I say? If I said yes, I have no doubt that this man would fork out millions of dollars to buy this house, just because I indicated that it met with my approval. I could get a commission in no time, a big one. All I have to do is say yes.
You ain't talking,
he murmurs before I can put my hand on the handle of the door, and I realize he's standing closer than I thought. I turn around and he's so near that my breasts practically brush against his chest. Then I swallow a whimper because his nearness sends a bolt of electricity through me. Tension crackles between us, thicker and hotter than the sultry Texas air. I feel like I can't make eye contact, so I stare at his shirt and notice that I can see muscles bulging underneath the thin t-shirt fabric. Oh, mercy. That's not any safer to look at. I'm trapped by his nearness, his virility, his sex appeal. He leans one hand against the car, right next to my arm.
You're really bad at answering when I have questions for you, Ivy.
His voice is low and husky, and he leans in even closer.
Did you like the house? Should I buy it for you?
My gaze flicks to his mouth. His lips are such a contrast against that bushy beard, and I wonder what it'd feel like to kiss him. I'm breathing hard, my skin damp with sweat.
Ivy?
He asks again. I'm thinking, I stammer. He brushes a lock of hair off my forehead, the stray, sexy one I left loose, and then tucked back into my bun at the last minute. I knew that rogue strand was a bad idea, because now he's touching me, and I want it. And him. Oh, God. I really want him. But he wants an elegant girlfriend, and that's not who I really am.
You still not sure about my intentions? Boone asks. Because I thought I'd been pretty clear about what I want all along.
Me. He wants me. I blink and gaze at his full mouth, then back up to his eyes. I'm a little worried.
About?
I feel like I'm about to become unraveled. It's maddening, this intense attraction between us. He's so close that he's making my nerves go haywire. That there's too much business involved in between us. That my attraction to you is based purely on your wallet. Boone laughs and leans a bit closer, his mouth nearing mine.
Only one way to find out.
Oh, God, he's going to kiss me. He inches in, his gaze flicking back to mine, as if waiting to see how I react. Suddenly, it feels like it's taking too long. Impulsive, I grab the front of his shirt with one hand and pull his mouth to my own. Our lips clash, hard and fierce, and I practically orgasm right then and there. Boone groans and presses his chest against mine. I'm pinned against the car, clutching the keys in my hand, my other knotted in his clothing. His wild beard feels prickly and thick, but his lips feel somehow firm and like velvet against my own mouth. The contrast makes me even crazier, and I bite at his lower lip, obsessed with this man. His breathing grows harsh, and his hand grabs at my bun, and I don't know if he's holding me close or trying to free my hair. All rational thought has gone out the window. I hike my leg up, rubbing my thigh against his denim-clad one, even as he snags my mouth and begins to kiss me again. His mouth is open, hot, and seeking, and when his tongue thrusts into my mouth, I feel it between my thighs. I let the car keys drop and wrap my arms around his neck, sucking on his tongue as he fucks my mouth with it. I want this more than I've wanted anything ever. He's consuming my senses until there's nothing but heat and sweat between us, bodies pressed together. It's still not enough. I moan into his mouth and rub my breasts against his chest, desperate for more. I want him to pinch my nipples. I want his hand between my thighs. I want to feel everything he has to give me.
Good God, baby, you are hot as sin.
His hand slides to my ass and grips it, hard, and I moan against his mouth because it feels amazing.
I need this. Need you.
His mouth claims me again in a demanding kiss.
Need to claim what's mine.
Boone, I whisper, utterly lost in him. I've never felt this maddeningly wild about another man. Ever. My few dating experiences didn't even come close to this. He pulls me forward and I gasp, clinging to him. He opens the back door of the car and then steps forward.
Lie back, baby. I need to taste you.
Taste me? I stammer.
All of you,
he agrees, voice heated.
I'm going to put my mouth on that sweet pussy of yours and lick it until you cream on my tongue.
It's a good thing he's holding me, because my legs suddenly can't seem to support my weight. Dazed, I sit down on the edge of the seat and glance around. We're in the driveway of this house.
It's abandoned,
he says, dropping to his knees in front of me, and his movements are slow and assured, and dangerous, like a predator. His hands go to my thighs, and then he pushes them apart, my short skirt hiking up.
Ain't nobody out here but you and me, darling.
He's right. part of me thinks that I should protest, put a stop to this, tell him that we need to keep things professional. Instead, I watch as he runs his face along the inside of my knee, rubbing his beard over my sensitive skin. My entire body prickles in response. He looks up at me a moment later, and there's raw need in his eyes.
Lie back for me, Ivy.
I should say no. I should sell him this house and just walk away. Instead, I moan and lie back, my thighs quivering in anticipation.
Your skin's so fucking soft,
he murmurs, and I feel him kiss my knee again. I close my eyes and press a hand to my forehead because it feels like that's the only thing that's keeping me from coming out of my own skin. I'm a bundle of nerves, part excitement and part skittishness. His mouth on my knee, that's the furthest I've ever gone. I can't stop thinking about where his mouth is going to go next. Boone's hands go up my skirt, and I feel him tug on my panties. I freeze because I can't remember if I'm wearing sexy panties or if they're granny panties. Now's a hell of a time to be wondering. Boone.
Shh. I'm just taking myself a souvenir.
That makes me prop up on my elbows to look at him. You can't take my panties as a souvenir. He arches an eyebrow at me, even as he slides the underwear in question down my legs.
Can't I?
They're mine, I protest weakly, watching even as he lifts them to his face and rubs the fabric over his mouth, then tucks it into his pocket. That was the most insane and erotic thing I've ever seen. Dear Lord. I stare as he turns back toward me with a predatory look in his eye. His hands move back up my skirt again, and he grabs my hips, and then hauls me down the seat toward him.
Put those pretty feet over my shoulders, Ivy, and I'll lick you until you scream.
Oh, God. Oh, God. I'm trembling with nervousness and need. There's a naughty edge to all of this because we're in the driveway of someone else's house. Granted, the house is abandoned and there's a gate, but we're still outside, in the open. Everything about that screams that we shouldn't be doing this, which is probably why it feels so wicked. And yet, I can't find the courage to do as he says. I'm paralyzed. Boone seems to realize this, because he takes one of my thighs and casually drapes it over his shoulder, like it's no big deal. His eyes meet mine for a brief electric moment, and then he gives me one of those gorgeously cocky smiles, and dives under my skirt. All I can see is the tangle of his hair, and then his mouth is on me. And then it's hard to think about anything. I can feel the tickle of his beard on the inside of my thighs. I can feel his mouth brushing over the curls of my pussy, and then I feel the drag of his tongue as he licks the entire length of my folds. I gasp, but he's not done. In the next moment, his tongue sweeps deeper, and then I feel him press it against my core. It feels shocking and intensely amazing. A whimper escapes my throat, and I have to fight the urge to raise my hips. When he pushes his tongue against that spot again, I feel this intense need to be filled, my insides aching and hollow.
Knew you'd taste this fucking sweet,
he murmurs, and he shrugs my other leg over his shoulder, and now I'm practically straddling his face.
Been waiting forever to taste you.
We just met, I stammer, even as he gives me another lick that sends shudders through my body. Ooh. He shoots me a scorching look over my skirt.
And every moment I've had to wait to put my mouth on you has been 1,000 years, so I'm going to savor this right now.
His hand flattens on my hip, and he drops his head again, and I feel his lips brush over my clit. A little cry escapes. That feels so incredible. His lips feel soft and yet firm as he sucks gently at my clit, and I can't help but undulate against him as he does that. The breath is hissing from my lungs each time he licks or sucks at my flesh, until I'm practically riding his face, and intense tension is ratcheting up through my body. I'm going to scream. I'm going to explode. I'm going to shatter into 1,000 pieces, and no one will ever be able to put me back together again. Instead, I come, and come hard and wet, all over his tongue. I'm a little shocked at how intensely my body has reacted, because this is the first time I've ever, had a liquid rush. But this has also been my most intense sexual experience to date. And it's still going. He hasn't let up, even though I'm quivering with rolling wave after rolling wave of orgasm.
"Boone," I gasp, and my hand goes to his hair to try and pull his head up and away from my thighs so I can catch a break.
He's not stopping, though. That beard's rubbing all over my most sensitive parts, and his tongue and lips won't stop working my clit over. I yank on his hair to try and pull him up, but in the next moment, I knot my fingers in his thick mane and hold him against my pussy because I'm coming hard and fast again, choking his name out as I do. This time, as I gasp for air, he eases up slowly, giving me one last possessive lick before raising his head. His lips and beard are wet from my juices, and as I watch, he rubs a hand over his mouth like a savage.
"Mine, Ivy," he growls. "That pussy's all fucking mine. You hear me?"
All I can do is gasp for breath and gaze up at him, utterly spent.